All right, so we're diving into Terrifier 3, huh? We've got articles here. Yeah, they're saying some wild stuff, walkouts, people fainting. Someone even mentioned a possible ban in France. Sounds intense.
Yeah, you could say that. Director Damien Leone, he's definitely upping the ante with this one.
It's like he's going for the ultimate shock factor, right? I mean, pushing horror further than even the last two Terrifier movies.
That's putting it mildly. The question is, though, does he pull it off?
Meaning,
Does he find that balance
yeah.
between just being shocking for shock's sake
Yeah.
and actually being scary, genuinely horrifying?
To point.
Or does he go a step too far?
Well, one article I read said that at the UK premiere, people were getting sick walking out.
No way.
Yeah, apparently the very first scene, it's that intense. And get this, Leone said himself that he made Terrifier 3 even gorier than the second one.
Which, let's be honest, was already pretty intense.
Totally. People were fainting during that one too, if I remember correctly.
They were. So to think he's going even further, it's kind of a staple of these horror franchises, you know?
Yeah.
To keep pushing the limits.
Oh, for sure. It's like audiences get used to a certain level of gore. So filmmakers, they feel like they have to up the ante to keep people scared, keep them coming back.
Right, but to actually have a physical reaction like that,
Yeah.
getting sick, passing out, that says
It
something.
reminds me of like back in the day when The Exorcist came out, people were fainting in the aisles, freaking out.
Exactly. It's like a cultural phenomenon at that point, not just a movie.
Totally. Though we've also got articles here talking about the kill scenes, how memorable they are, like from the first two films.
Oh, right, I saw those.
One involved a hacksaw, another was like salt and bleach. Brutal.
Definitely not for the faint of heart. It makes you wonder what Leone has in store for Terrifier 3.
Right. Like, how do you top that?
It's all about tapping into those primal fears, you know? Our fascination with violence, with the macabre. It's part of what draws audiences to these films.
And it works. It's like a guilty pleasure.
Exactly. So there's this weird contrast, because David Howard Thornton, the actor who plays Art the Clown,
Yeah.
he actually describes the character as fun.
Fun. Seriously.
I know, right? It seems kind of off, given, well, everything.
It does. Like, he's a homicidal clown, not, making balloon animals at a kid's party.
Right. But this article quotes Thornton saying art is entertaining, that people enjoy that about him.
How is that even possible with all the violence, the gore? It's a lot.
It is. It's like Leone's walking this tightrope,
Mm-hmm.
you know? On the one side, pushing the envelope with the violence, going further than anyone else, but then also adding this dark humor,
Interesting.
like daring us to find the absurdity in it all, even though it's gruesome.
That's a tough balance to strike.
It is. And it's not a new thing in horror, this blend of humor and horror.
Yeah.
But with Terrifier 3, it's like he's taking it to a whole other level.
Yeah, especially with that teaser they released, the one hinting that Art might actually kill a child this time.
Oh, right. I saw that. Talk about a controversial move.
Right. Is nothing sacred.
I think that's what Leone's going for, though. Pushing those buttons, making us question what's acceptable, even in a horror movie.
He's playing with fire, for sure. But, it makes you think. If gore and shock were the only things that mattered, would people really be this invested?
Good point. There's got to be something more to it than that.
So what's it all about then? Besides the blood and guts, is there, like, a real story in Terrifier 3?
Well, that's where things get interesting. One article talked about the final girl, Sienna.
The Sienna.
Yeah, played by Lauren Lavera. You might remember her from the last couple of films.
Oh, right. Yeah, I vaguely remember.
So it seems like she really takes center stage in Terrifier 3. Like, she's a big part of it.
Okay, but what's her deal? Refresh my memory.
So we first meet her in the second movie. She's kind of like into cosplay, seems pretty normal. But when she comes face to face with Art the Clown,
Yeah.
she starts to find this inner strength, this toughness she didn't even know she had. And now, in Terrifier 3, she's older, obviously, haunted by what happened before. But also, she seems way more capable.
Capable? How? Like, she's going to fight back this time.
Something like that. And
Yeah.
get this, the film is supposed to reveal more about her connection to Art the Clown.
Whoa, hold on. There's a connection there. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's hinted at, but they're keeping it under wraps for now.
So it's not all just, like, watching people get, off
Well,
play.
no, there's definitely more to it. A story arc, character development, all
Okay,
that.
now that's interesting. Because I'll be honest, I was starting to think it was all just shock value.
Well, it wouldn't be a Terrifier movie without it. But yeah, there's more going on.
Wow, okay. A final girl who can handle herself. I like it. Changes things up a bit.
Right. It's not your typical slasher flick.
And what about this ban in France? That's going to be a first, right?
Pretty much. Sounds like the French censors weren't too keen on all the violence.
Really? They're usually pretty lenient over there.
I know, right? Apparently they slapped it with a ban for minors. That's pretty rare.
Wow. I mean, it makes sense. We're talking about Terrifier here. But still.
Definitely speaks volumes about how intense it's supposed to be.
Yeah. But we're talking about Leone walking a fine line. He wants to push the limits, but not alienate everyone.
Right. It's a delicate balance.
So how does he handle that? Especially with this whole thing about art potentially harming a child. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah, and it's sparking a lot of debate.
So is it actually going to be in the film?
Well, here's the thing. Leone has said that the scene in question, it actually happens off screen.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, so he's playing with our expectations,
Yeah.
letting our imaginations run wild.
Smart move. Sometimes what you don't see is scarier.
Exactly. And it's generating a ton of buzz. People are talking about censorship, the limits of art, you name it.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, how far is too far? It's a debate that's been going on forever.
It has. But it seems like Terrifier 3 is really tapping into that conversation.
For sure. But from what we've read, it's not all just shock for shock's sake.
Right. It sounds like there's an actual story here, characters we can get invested in, maybe even something to say about, well, humanity, you know?
Okay, now that's what I like to hear, a little substance with my gore.
Exactly. And let's not forget David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown. He's become a horror icon.
Oh, for sure. He owns that role.
And it's more than just the makeup and the costume. He brings this unsettling charisma to the character.
I've heard he's actually a really nice guy in real life.
Yeah, and very aware of the impact his performance has, especially on the other actors. Like, he goes out of his way to make sure everyone's comfortable, especially the kids.
That's good to hear.
It's just a good reminder that even in a genre like horror, there's still a human side to it all.
For sure. So we've got Sienna, the final girl, and we've got Art the Clown. Tell me more about her arc. What makes her so interesting?
Well, we know from the last film that she starts as this, typical teenager into cosplay.
Right.
But being hunted by Art the Clown, it forces her to tap into something deeper, this hidden strength she didn't even know she had.
She's not just a victim. I like it.
Exactly. And the more we learn about her connection to art, the more intriguing it gets. Apparently, Terrifier 3 is going to dig into that.
Wait, seriously, there's a whole backstory there.
Sounds like it. And with Sienna's new skills, her willingness to fight, Art might have finally met his match.
Okay, you've got my attention now. This is more than just a slasher film.
Right. It's a psychological thriller, a mystery, and, of course, a whole lot of gore.
I'm into it. It's like you think you know what to expect, and then Leone throws you a curveball.
That's what makes him such a unique voice in horror.
All right, you've convinced me. I'm curious to see how it all plays out. This Terrifier 3 sounds wilder than I thought.
Oh, it does. It's going to be a wild ride. But tell me, did you know that the whole Terrifier thing actually started with a bunch of short films?
No way. Seriously.
Yeah. I was reading about it. These short films with Art the Clown, they were eventually part of this horror anthology, like back in 2013.
Huh, I never knew that.
I guess it just shows you a really terrifying villain
That can go.
that can stick with people.
And launch an entire franchise. Art the Clown is a horror icon now. I bet they had no idea back then.
Right. It's kind of amazing. I mean, to create a villain that resonates that much.
It's all about the look, the vibe, the whole package, and you've got to hand it to David Howard Thornton. He brings art to life.
Speaking of Thornton, did you read about how he got the part for the first Terrifier?
No. What happened?
So, apparently, he showed up to his audition, and he hadn't even looked at a script.
You're kidding?
Nope. He just winged it, totally improvised his audition.
That's ballsy. But I guess it worked out for him.
Oh, yeah. And the way he did it, it's classic Art the Clown.
What'd he do?
He mimed killing someone, then tasting them, like adding seasoning and everything, and then just skipped away, all happy.
Get out. No way.
I know. Can you imagine being in the room?
They must have been like, well, we found our guy.
Yeah.
It's perfect, though, isn't it? Like you said, classic Art the Clown.
Totally. And it obviously worked. He's got this natural ability to tap into that character, even without a script.
Exactly. It's like he was born to play this role, and like we were saying earlier, he always adds that weird dark humor to it.
Right. Like that whole tasting and seasoning thing. It's disturbing, but also kind of hilarious.
It's so messed up, but you can't look away.
And Thornton knows it. He said in interviews that for him, it's all about finding the joyful clownery in art.
Joyful clownery, he called it. Oh my God.
Right. It's both hilarious and terrifying at the same time.
Totally. It's like he gets it. He understands what makes art so compelling, this weird mix of creepy and fun.
Thornton's even said that he sees art as like an amalgamation of all the great horror villains.
Ooh, interesting. Who are we talking about? Like Freddy? Jason?
All of them.
Yeah.
Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers, Pennywise, you name it.
Wow. Big shoes to fill. But he does it. He brings something new to the table.
Absolutely. He's made the character his own.
For sure. It's going to be wild to see what he does with Terrifier 3. Like, how do you even top the first two?
Right. And what about Sienna? We haven't even gotten into how she might have changed since the last film.
Oh, man. Yeah. She's going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially if what we've heard about her fighting back is true.
And, I was reading an interview with Lauren Lavera, the actress who plays Sienna.
Mm-hmm.
She was saying how much she loves that Sienna's not like this perfect heroine.
What'd she say?
She said Sienna's messy, flawed, which makes her way more relatable.
Totally. Nobody wants to watch a goody two-shoes character, especially in horror movies.
That's like, give me someone real, someone who makes mistakes.
And then overcomes them. That's what makes a good character arc. Plus, there's the whole martial arts thing.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about that. She's been training for like 20 years or something.
I know. She's going to kick some serious clown butt.
This isn't your typical final girl running and screaming. She's ready for a fight.
This is going to be epic.
Right. Like Leone's flipping the script on the whole helpless female trope.
Love it.
Finally.
Okay, so let's recap this whole Terrifier 3 situation. We've got over-the-top gore, check.
Check.
Shark-twisted humor.
Double check.
Characters that we actually care about.
You bet.
A storyline that's keeping us on the edge of our seats.
For sure.
And a director who's not afraid to, really push the envelope, even if it means stirring up some controversy.
Exactly. So the question is it going to be a wild, crazy good time, or did Leone go too far? Only one way to find out.
That's right. You got to see it to believe it. But, fair warning,
Yeah.
you might want to skip that pre-movie meal and maybe tack an extra large popcorn bucket for, reasons.
Let's just say it's not for the faint of heart. But then again, that's what we love about horror, right? It takes us to those dark, uncomfortable places, makes us think about things we don't want to think about.
Exactly. It's a thrill ride.
Yeah.
And Terrifier 3 sounds like it's going to be one for the books.
It does. We've just scratched the surface here. There's so much more to uncover, to dissect.
And we can't wait to dive in deeper with all of you once we've had a chance to actually see the film.
Exactly. So will you be entertained, disturbed, or maybe even a little bit changed after seeing Terrifier 3? That's the power of a good horror film. Let us know.